Hello and welcome to another edition of your favourite podcast, Insane in the Membrane.
Insane in the Membrane.
Hello, one and all. We are well into the summer now. I don't know if any of you are going away at all or have been away. Now we are allowed to go away. I'm not going away. I'm just building up to go to Edinburgh. I'm going to Edinburgh in August, taking up my new show. You Could Have It So Much Better, which will be up the road. In Just the Tonic at 9:20 every night. So if you find yourself in Edinburgh, do come along. As Pride Month continues, it was amazing to hear some of Suzi Ruffell's stories. Now, I met Suzi Ruffell when she was doing the door of a comedy club in Streatham. It must be like 11 years ago now. More than that, 12 years ago maybe. I think it was called the Riverside. I can't remember what the pub was called, but it was a brilliant gig that I used to do. I was the resident MC, and Suzi used to do the door, and she'd go like, "I want to do comedy." I'm like, "Well, just go and do it then." You know, gave her a time out. I said, "Go and do it." And now she's smashing it. And now she's on, I think she's on Amazon Prime. Got a special on there. Absolutely tearing it up. One of the country's best comedians that we've had in the last 10 years, easy. She's brilliant, and she's you'll hear it on here. She's great to talk to, and as we said, celebrating Pride Month, and what better way to do that than listening to the brilliant Suzi Ruffell.
A podcast from producer Paul.co.uk.
Insane in the Membrane.
Great, it's all good. So, Rich is on the line now.
Hello.
Hello,
Mate. You all right?
Yeah, I'm fine. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I forgot
Good
that you two
stuff.
know each other.
Yeah, we worked together briefly when Tom and I were doing voiceovers at Channel 4.
Yeah. Very nice. Yeah.
Very nice.
He's a good lad, old Paul. Well, yeah.
Thank you very much.
If it wasn't for him, this shit wouldn't go out. Thank you for coming on. You well? You good?
Yeah, I'm all good, thanks, mate. All good.
Yeah, mate. It was good seeing you last week when we filmed
Yeah, it
your
was
thing.
really nice. It was really fun.
Yeah.
With my dad. It feels like obvious casting now. I'm like, why hasn't that happened before?
Yeah, exactly. I'm more than happy to be your dad. That was good. I enjoyed it. I've never
fun.
not done anything like that before, so
It was really fun.
it was, man. Yeah. How are you finding it? Everything that's going on at the minute, it's all a bit fucked.
It's all a bit fucked, but I'm kind of all right. I'm sort of trying to stay pretty upbeat.
Yeah. That's all you can do.
I mean, I'm sure we'll get into that.
Yeah, we will. This is it now, by the way. Started.
Marvellous. We've started. Okay, brilliant.
Yeah. There's no fancy intro. That comes later. We just get into it, mate.
Get right into it. I mean, it's weird, isn't it? So we're recording this on the first proper day of lockdown.
Yeah.
I've done a gym class this morning on Zoom and been for a walk, so I'm trying to keep my mental health in check.
Yeah. I think this time it's almost like the last one because none of us knew what we were doing and it kept going on and on and on. We weren't really sure.
Yes.
I think this time we were all like, right, okay, I know what happened last time, so this time I'm going to attack it.
I know what I need to do.
Yes.
Yeah, that's sort of how I feel.
Yeah, I went up a jean size. I was not happy. That's not cool. I'm too short to be that fat. Do you know what I mean? It's not happening.
So what are you going to do this time?
I don't know. Get bigger jeans. I
Just
can't.
cut out the. Just cut out the size.
Yeah, I've already been cycling and stuff like that in between time, so I'm getting better. But I think
Do you get your Lycra on?
I've got some shorts that have got a padded crutch bit, padded arse, and because I stupidly tried to ride my bike. I've got this part-time job I'm doing, and I stupidly tried to ride my bike from West Ham to Leigh-on-Sea one morning, which is 35 miles. It took me 4 hours.
Oh God, that's a lot.
Without any bumhole protection.
How was your bumhole after that?
Oh, mate, it was like I'd been trying to pick things up with it. Wasn't great, mate. It wasn't great. I've got to be honest. So anyone listening, don't do that, all right?
Yes.
Ease into this shit. You're not going to ride your bike around the world on the first day.
Yeah, I mean, I'll back that for you.
I saw where you're living, it used to be an old estate, which is now a new estate.
Oh, wait a minute. I live in a place that used to be a big factory.
Yeah, right, okay. Nice.
Yeah, so it used to be a factory and then it was made into sort of apartments,
yeah, right.
for want of a better word.
Yeah.
So we did that Help to Buy thing.
Nice.
To get on the property ladder.
There you go.
So we're in a new build. But it's nice. I like it. I live in a very sort of leafy area of southeast London.
Yeah, which is nice, isn't it? Especially with this, if you're locked in, it's nice to have a bit of a nice view, isn't it?
It's really good. And I live near loads of parks, which is brilliant.
Lovely.
I didn't really realise, you sort of, as you get older, you sort of start going, oh yeah, I want like loads of wide open space and I want to be around that and that'd be really good for me and that'd be great. And then like during lockdown, you're like, oh fucking hell, yeah, it is really useful to be near all of this wide open space. This is really great.
Yeah.
So me in the past was right.
Yeah, absolutely. Well done past you. Brilliant.
Yeah, I was really chuffed with her actually. Good on her.
Where we live in Leon Sea, it's that because it's right on the water's edge, so you've got the Thames.
That's
to look
very
at.
nice.
And it's just as it goes out to sea, so we're very lucky, very lucky.
Yeah, that keeps your brain together.
It certainly does, because I've been staying with Paul Sweeney as Jade and I are working some things out, and there's no view.
I'm not laughing at the idea of you and Jade working things out. What I'm laughing at is the fact that I love how open you are about that. You're like, yeah, we're going to talk about it, and then Jade on social media being like, babe, people think we're going to break up.
She said,
you're like.
We were at a gig the other night and I've got this bit about it and she shouted out from the back of the room, stop fucking telling everybody we're on a break. I'm like, we are on a break. She went, no, it doesn't mean what you think it means. And she kept going.
What do you think it means?
Well, she's going like,
oh my God, is this Ross and Rachel? This feels so familiar.
That's what she said. She goes, people, if you say we're on a break, they think we're on a break from each other, whereas you're just living somewhere else and it's different. We're not in a relationship. And I was like, yeah, I know that. And she went, yeah, but other people don't. And then she's like, and if you keep telling people that, you're going to end up having sex with someone else.
Right, okay.
When? People aren't queuing up for this, mate. I don't know. So I've stopped.
I think after all that chat about your arsehole, you might get some luck.
Someone might want to kiss it better.
Oh, that's too much. That
went too far.
Very blue. That's
Sorry,
very
mate,
blue
mate.
early doors.
Well, do you know what? It's been so long. I don't mind. Someone come around and kiss my bum hole better. That was out loud. I said that. Good times.
Yeah, you did, mate. Yeah, you said that out loud.
You're in a relationship, aren't you?
I am. Yeah.
How's that going with all the lockdown gubbins? Are you two all right? Yeah.
Yeah, we're really. I've really sort of enjoyed being able to spend all this extra time with her. Alice has got a normal job, and we spend a good amount of time together. But my life is often gigging or on tour, and so we've had this extra time together, which has been amazing. And I also think it's sort of made me restructure how I want my life to look in the future. I don't want to necessarily be gigging 8 times a week anymore or 7 times a week. I think that after all of this, I think I will, don't get me wrong, I absolutely love stand-up and I think I'll always be a stand-up, and I think no matter what happens in my career, I will always do stand-up. I love it. I really love the craft. I really love doing it. But I do think that I've become, I don't know, a bit more aware of like how much I like being at home, how much I like just Alice and I being together and not doing too much else, having I've never had really full weekends off. No. And I think I'll be having a lot more of that.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I said that on Helen Rutter's, Rob Rouse's wife's episode. And I said the same thing. I said, all this stuff happening suddenly made me realise, like, oh yeah, I didn't have to leave early from that wedding. I probably could have stayed and not been such a prick and put money and gigging first.
Yeah, I think you're right. I had a person called Travis Alabanza on my podcast, and they were saying that they'd never had like a break before in their work. They'd never, having an enforced break was actually quite helpful because, being someone that's always trying to work, always trying to get on to the next thing, they'd always sort of not really had those breaks that other people have. I feel like a lot of other people in their careers, they'll have a holiday or a few weeks off, or they'll get time off around Christmas, which we can do. But I think that there's this, I don't know, certainly when I started stand up, it felt like there's loads of people that want to do it. You've got to be really, really good to go professional and make a living out of it. I think sometimes as a woman, you've got to be especially good to be able to play the clubs, which I was very much a club act. And you know, and still am in many ways. I'll do the clubs when they're back.
Yeah.
And so I just knew that I had to get really good and had to work out how to do it right and work out how to be as funny as possible. And so I was sort of on a treadmill for about 10 years. And this enforced stop, I think, has been really useful to sort of recalibrate how I want my life to look.
Yeah.
Post-lockdown.
Absolutely. I think I got to a point I was getting a bit jaded with it. Just being out every night, just doing it, plugging away, you know, not necessarily chasing fame, but like you just said, like I need to be working on this all the time. I need to improve, I need to be better. And taking things for granted as well. I remember I was in the Alps. I was in the French Alps about sort of January time. Oh no, it might have been before that. But I'm in the Alps and I'm sitting in the bar up the mountain. I'm like, fucking skiing. I'm fed up with skiing. I'm like, I keep hurting myself. I'm cold. I'm like, I've got to lug this fucking equipment around. And then I suddenly, when all this stuff happened, I'm like, you fucking knob.
Yeah, right.
You know what? You
Didn't
really
know how
lost.
lucky you were.
Exactly. You lost track of yourself there, you wanker.
I think that it's good to sort of consider those things and go, is that what I want my life to look like? And you know, for some people it is, but I think, you know, having a healthy work-life balance, I think doing a job like this, you do sort of become more consumed by it to a degree. But it is important that you have other stuff. Also, as my agents always said to me, you need stuff to talk about.
True, absolutely.
If all you're doing is gigging, you're going to have nothing to talk about.
Absolutely, I see that all the time. And I mean, Doug Stanhope, I've mentioned this before, but he says your best stories are when you go out. You go to a bar and you're not talking to whoever. That's where you get your material. Just sitting down on it with a blank piece of paper in front of you, going, right, I'm going to write some stuff. What are you going to write about? You're going to write about the paper that you're looking at. So, yeah, absolutely, get out there and live a bit. And like you say, downtime.
I mean, there's comics, you know, that do brilliant material, but a lot of their stuff will be, I was on this train or I was doing this, and you sort of go, you're constantly on the way to a gig.
Yes, and it's like, do something else, mate.
Yeah,
go and do something else. But you got your own podcast.
I do, yes.
And what's that called?
So I've got 3 podcasts. Can you believe it?
Look at that. We're all busy.
I know. Chill out. I've got one called Like-Minded Friends, which is a conversation podcast with me and Tom Allen every week.
Lovely.
Every 2 weeks at the moment. And then that's been going for about 6 years. And then I've got one called Out with Suzi Ruffell, where I interview people about coming out.
Okay.
Not just really about that. It's just a conversation, but both people happen to be gay. And then I have a podcast about the future of tech with Dr. Hannah Fry.
Yeah, right.
Which is a new thing that I've been working on sort of in lockdown, about where sort of technology is taking us.
It's frightening, I feel, some of it.
Really?
Yeah.
I feel quite excited by it. I sort of went into it wondering if I'd feel a bit like that. But actually, a lot of the things that are happening are super positive.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, it's just sort of something else that I've got a bit of an interest in. So I thought, why not?
Yeah, right. Okay. I didn't know that about you. You're into your tech.
I'm not. A bit, yeah. I'm not like the biggest tech head, but, you know, there was the opportunity to work with Hannah Fry, who I think is brilliant, who's like, if you don't know who she is, she's sort of go-to brain box on BBC. So she's on a range of things, but, you know, she's done like Have I Got News For You a bunch of times, and she's a doctor of maths, and sort of she did a TV show about what would happen to the UK in a pandemic about 2 years ago.
Yeah, right.
Which
oh, yeah.
Yeah, so she's sort of... and they, you know, they sort of having a conversation going, well, this might happen in our lifetimes, and then boom, it happened a couple of years later. So it was the opportunity to work with her as well, which was really cool.
Yeah, very cool.
So I do a couple of different things. I like the medium of podcasting, and I mean, recently it's been something that we can actually do.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, if it wasn't for this, I'd have been fucked.
Well, I think that if it wasn't for mine too, I felt such a sense of like purpose, getting something done, doing the research on people that were coming on the show, or doing the research about the tech, learning stuff about people, having conversations with different people. You know, I felt it made my days sort of feel quite exciting again.
Yeah, Yeah, exactly. Just I actually enjoy finding out about the people that are coming on, even though I know you. I don't know you, and so looking into I'm like, oh, I didn't. Yeah, okay, that's interesting. Do you know what I mean? It's been quite the education. And
What do you know? How much do you know? Bloody hell!
Not just about you, but everybody. You know, it's that. Yeah, I'm glad that I did this. I love doing this.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah,
It's really. Also, I love listening to podcasts. I'm quite a podcasty person. I've always got a couple on the go. And so, there's go-to podcasts that I'll go to if I want to feel a certain thing or learn a certain thing or sort of just go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And so that's... so it kind of makes sense that I do it. Also, I'd love to do radio and hopefully at one point I'll do some presenting. But that opportunity's not come up yet. So it's sort of, kind of similar to stand-up. I've got some autonomy with it. So I can just create something and put it out there and people can decide whether they listen to it or not.
Yeah, that's it. It's like with this, we just put it out and we went, fingers crossed, hopefully someone will dig it. And people did. And it's been a real buzz. Yeah, it's been great. But the one you've got the one about out.
Yes.
Now, because this is the thing, innit? People, I've spoken to people about this, about coming out. Mm-hmm. And there's that. Some people say, "Oh, well, it's different now," and people. It's almost like you don't have to come out now. It's like it's easier now, and blah blah. But that's not the case for everybody.
Oh no, definitely not. Well, I think it's. I think it's certainly there's some things that are easier now. Certainly in this country, it's easier. Homosexuality was only decriminalised in '69, I think. So I can't think, what it would have been like to live as a gay person prior to that. But, it's worth remembering that there's still 71 countries across the globe where it's illegal to be gay. There's still 11 where it's punishable by death.
Really?
So yeah. So it's not like you sort of come out and then go, oh, well, this is fine. You come out and then you go, okay, well, my partner and I can't travel to that country. Or if you're a parent, if you're a gay parent, well, we couldn't take our child to Dubai.
No.
How would we explain that?
No.
Would it be worth it? what would we say that one of us is the nanny? Like, it just wouldn't be worth it to try and deal with that.
Yeah. In
somewhere that has these really sort of archaic and brutal opinions of homosexuality.
Absolutely. I mean, it blows my mind that it's still a thing.
Yeah, totally. But I mean, all you've got to do is look at what's happening in America literally today and you can see, lots of people are hateful.
Oh God, yeah. Yeah.
Lots of people are only really interested in putting themselves first.
Yeah.
I think about that a lot when it comes to sort of coming out. And I sort of did wonder, I thought, does the world need this podcast? Should I do this podcast? And then I asked a couple of sort of famousy people if they'd do it. And they said, yeah. And then, the response I got immediately, from people all over the world, from people in countries where it's yet to be decriminalised, from people that are living in the UK, saying, oh God, I found this really hard. Or, there's a charity in the UK, AKT, formerly known as the Albert Kennedy Trust, and they work specifically with young people who are kicked out by their families when they come out.
Wow. And
currently their referrals are like through the roof. So yes, for lots of people in sort of this nice liberal bubble.
Yes.
It is much easier, and people's parents have gay friends and it's absolutely fine, and some people have no issue at all. But it's also worth remembering that it's not that easy for others.
No, especially like you say, where it's still a criminal offence to be.
Oh yeah, I mean,
imagine living that life where it's literally just down to your sexuality.
Yeah,
and you have to live in fear.
Totally, yeah, and like fear of being outed, fear of losing your job. I think in America there's still some states where you can be fired if people find out you're gay.
Wow.
That might be incorrect. So if anyone's like, you're wrong, like you don't need to tweet me. But there's certainly that was the case a few years ago. But yeah, or whether that will come back in with, whatever happens next.
Yeah, well, that's it, isn't it? It's hopefully he'll be gone. But it's that. Yes. But it's like if he comes back, then what?
Or just like his appointment of Amy Coney Barrett, who's got really, really awful views about gay people. So on the one hand, yeah, it is so much easier than it's ever been, I think, to come out. And I think that loads of people have really wonderful coming out journeys and their families are super supportive, and that's incredible.
Yeah.
But I think quite often people that say it's kind of okay to come out now are people that aren't gay.
Every time. It's been a straight white person.
Yeah. And you sort of
Yeah.
go, well, you know, and you know, it's often the same people that will say things like, oh, well, you know, it's, you know, does racism really exist in this country? And you go, do you know what? We should probably speak to someone that's non-white about this, because I think they'd probably have a better understanding of this than you sort of making up something.
I know, and I still see that all lives matter. I'm like, oh God, that's not. Of course, they all matter, but that's not what it's saying. It's like
that's not what we're talking about right now.
Yeah, exactly. You can go to the shops unmolested. There's other people of colour that can't.
Yeah,
and that's what we're talking about. You fucking idiot. It's that. When you came out, I think you've told me this before, but I can't remember. But how was that? Was it? Was it easy for you?
It was. Yeah, I knew I was gay for quite a long time before I came out.
Yeah.
I was quite scared of coming out. It took me about 7 years from realising I was gay to actually doing it.
Yeah, right.
And, you know, I knew that my parents would love me, but I also knew that they would be worried about me, that it meant that I had this different life from what they'd envisioned for me, that they thought that my life would be a lot harder. I knew it would make them really worry about whether I was going to have a happy life, whether I was going to get, you know, be attacked or something, whether my life would just be harder in general. But, you know, I think I would say that my mum and dad took, my mum especially took a little while to sort of get her head around it, that I wasn't this person that she thought I was, even though I was, I was still me.
Yeah.
But, now we have an incredible relationship, and she's enormously close to my partner, Alice. They love each other to bits, and they're really, really close. And I said it in my most recent Edinburgh show, if I could go back and tell my sort of 14-year-old self that one day, my mum would say, oh God, it's like I've got 2 daughters, I love it. That, I would have exploded with joy if you had told 14-year-old me that's one day what my mum would say. But, I think it's important with these sorts of things to, sometimes people's initial reaction to anything isn't ideal. And whilst in an ideal world, people's reaction would always be, well, let me listen, let me understand. But sometimes people's reactions aren't great. But I think allowing someone to grow, allowing someone to change their mind, allowing someone to, do a bit of soul searching and do a bit of learning is a positive thing.
Yeah. And that's true across the board, isn't it? That the people don't seem to think that there's any room for change. There's all that old-fashioned thing of people don't change. They do if you allow them to.
I think something that's got lost from this world is there's absolutely nothing wrong with saying, do you know what, I was wrong about that.
Yeah, I
was wrong about that. That's I think if we were all encouraged to say that a little bit more, we'd be living in a different place. You go, oh, do you know, I've never considered that. I was really wrong about that.
Yeah.
Rather than this defensiveness.
It's that fear of looking stupid, isn't it? And that.
Yeah, but I'm just so comfortable with looking stupid. I've done so much of that. On stage, off stage. I think it's okay to look stupid. I think there's nothing. There's nothing wrong with learning something as an adult and going, oh, I wish I'd learnt this when I was 15, but I just didn't. So I'm learning it now. It's better than never learning it. Absolutely.
That's true. I've said this before. Me admitting that I was a bit of a dickhead in the past was so liberating.
Yeah, totally, right?
I'm going, oh God, do you know what? My behaviour back then was fucking shit. Yeah. But I've learned I've learned that it was shit, and I don't want to be that person anymore. So
yeah, totally.
Yeah. And it's and that's
positive.
It is,
no one could listen to that and go, what a prick. Or if they did, you'll be like, well, I don't want to hang out with you.
No.
one. So you don't want to hang out with someone that's been like, oh, I've done all my growing. You're like, well, you need to get back in the oven, mate. you ain't. If you think you are, you ain't.
You're not done yet, mate.
Yeah. Give yourself another half an hour, and we'll have a look then.
So when you were, like you said, you were the age you were when you started to realise you were gay. How did you feel? Were you worried?
Oh, I felt an enormous sense of shame.
Right.
An enormous sense of shame self-loathing, a sort of disgust in myself that I felt like that. Quite sort of strong emotions for a young person to deal with, I now realise. And I think that's sort of why I made the podcast, because, I was in a loving home where I was very supported and I had lots and lots of love. I can't help but think what it would be like for people that didn't have all those things that I had. So, I really didn't want to be me, I guess is the easiest way to describe it. I really didn't want to be me. I would have taken anyone else. If they had said to me, like, you can take a pill and you'll sort of wake up normal, even though I don't think that's the word. That's obviously not the word that I would use now. But as a teenager, that's the word that I would have used. I would have done it in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
But, it's who I am, and I tried to run away from it for a fair amount of time, but I couldn't run away from, the person that I am. I couldn't run away from being me. And so I realised probably when I was about 14, but it took me until I was about 21 to actually deal with those feelings.
Yeah.
And go, oh God, I'm going to have to deal with this. Otherwise, I think I might be sad forever.
I know people that have had horror stories about coming out. Mm-hmm. They've had, they didn't know how to, and then they did, and then they were just ostracised and forced out by the family. And
yeah,
I find it, like we've seen it, I'll never understand, because I never had to come out as straight. I never had to come out. I had to pretend to be gay when I worked in the gay sauna, but that's different. That was just me. That was just me trying to keep a job. But I will never understand that pressure, that having that like you were saying when you first sort of realised that you were gay, and that those feelings of self-loathing.
Yeah, well, I think I'm hoping that there'll be a lot less of that. I've got a cousin who's gay, who's a bit younger than me, and he sort of came out when he was at school, and massively doesn't give a shit. Like, got really badly picked on at school, and I said to him, like, does that upset you? And he was like, no, because I know that, like, one day I'll be a fashion designer and they'll have some sad little life. And, like, I think that's amazing that a 15-year-old that's getting the piss ripped out of him constantly can be that strong. But and I think that with the I don't love social media, to be honest.
No.
I do it because it's part of the job for me, really. I think if I wasn't doing a job like this, I don't think I'd be on it at all. But I think one of the positive things about social media and about YouTube is that, people can connect with people that are like them.
Yes.
Or you can look up to people that are like you and feel like you've got some common ground with someone. And that's just something that I didn't have, because I didn't really realise there was, obviously by the time I was like 15, I was like, oh, okay, well, gay people exist, gay women exist, fine. Sue Perkins is on telly, I get it. But back then, before I was 15, so before I really had an understanding of, oh, okay, well, these kinds of people live in the world as well. When I was 11, 12, feeling like an outsider, I couldn't quite put my finger on what it was.
Yeah.
I just felt like I was just really different to everybody, and I couldn't really work out why.
Yeah, it was like when I was at school. There was a couple of lads in our, I went to an all-boys school, and there was a couple of lads that have, since they've come out as gay, but because they were a little bit more, for want of a better word, feminine than the rest of us, they used to get the shit ripped out of them, like properly, and I did it a bit, and it was, and I'm not proud of that. You just didn't know it was that. I suppose, like we've said this before, it was that if someone else is getting picked on, you're not getting picked on for a little while.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It was because it was a fucking horrible. It was horrible when I was at school.
Yeah,
So I can't imagine.
Where did you go to school?
I went to Ramsden School for Boys in Orpington.
Right. Okay. So Kent.
Yes.
And was it rough?
Well, it didn't say. I think it was. It wasn't rough. Like, we weren't scum, but we weren't brilliant. It wasn't like, I don't know anybody that came away from Ramsden School for Boys and went on to be the head of anything. We didn't.
Right, okay.
It was a function-only school that you just went to and got through, and then you went and got a job.
You didn't go on to uni or anything like that?
No, uni was never mentioned. That never came up. and sexuality wasn't really discussed. I don't remember having conversations about sexuality, even though we were like the first generation to do sex education. Talking about the fact that there were other there were gay people and there were bisexual people. That we never talked about that.
Well, I mean, that's only come into schools very recently.
Really?
That that people talk about that. Like, I mean, when I was at school, it certainly wasn't discussed. And I'm a few years younger than you, but I'm not, it's not like I'm in my 30s.
Yeah.
But, it's not, I think it's still something that is, I think, in faith schools, they can totally decide not to talk about that.
Right, yeah. Yeah.
Even now.
Which is mad.
Yeah, it is.
It's mad. And this is where now, although I've seen, was it the Pope's come out and now he's.
Yeah.
And you're like,
good on the Pope.
Yeah, and you're like, yeah, all right, yeah, because you realised you were losing a few quid by. But it needs to be, these religions need to be more open to these things,
Well, I think the thing is that there's gay people in every religion. Some religions don't want to believe that, but there are. Gay people exist. There's nothing, and you not talking about the fact that gay people exist isn't going to stop your son or daughter from being gay. That's the fear. People are like, I don't want my kids learning about this in case they become gay. Well, listen, I didn't know any lesbians. I didn't have any sex ed at school about lesbians. There was certainly no kind of, recruitment process.
Yeah.
It was something that was, it's something innate inside of me that I would never have been able to pretend wasn't there.
Yeah. There needs to be more of there needs to, especially like with everything that's going on at the minute with the elections and the pandemic and everything, we seem to be losing empathy and understanding and giving a shit about each other. Yeah,
that's a real concern, isn't it? I think that's the thing that it's constantly us and them and how we feel, and I think that's not. I don't know. I think it's really sad that we're living in a time where a footballer has to help kids get fed.
I know.
What an incredible man. But I mean, what a travesty that this country that we live in that is so rich.
Yeah.
I appreciate we've lost a lot of money because of COVID, but the government has still managed to giving out deals with their friends to make PPE or whatever it is. They're still managing to find all that money to do that.
Yeah.
After they fucked it up a number of times. But the fact that they can't find the money to feed children,
I know.
Sort of go, fuck. Like, what is this if we're a country that won't feed the youngest and the most vulnerable among us?
Yeah, exactly. And I saw people arguing about it, and you're like, this isn't about the parents. It's not about whether people having kids because they can afford it or not. It's just about kids. There are kids that exist now that need a dinner.
Yeah, and what a sad state of affairs if we're going, well, only these people can have children. What about, those children are just as valid. Okay, and, the circumstances change and, you can't say to people, look, just because you live under the breadline, because you're experiencing poverty, that means you aren't allowed to have the experience of being a mother. Like, what a terrible thing to suggest that we say to someone.
Yeah.
What is wrong with where are people's humanity?
Well, exactly. It's exactly that. We're losing that humanity. That, yeah. It saddens me, and this is why I've started to stop looking at the news and things like that, and not because I don't give a fuck. It's because I give a fuck too much.
Yeah.
And I can't do.
Sad.
Yeah, I can't do anything about it. I can do my bit. I can donate, or I can go and help out, dishing out food or whatever, but I can't change stuff.
Yeah.
And I really,
but I think, don't you think that change happens from those small grassroots things?
Yes, I do. I think that's been said before, where if you take care of what's around you, and then that will spread out, and then other people will take care of the stuff around them, and those little circles connect. That's the thing.
I think that, I do a little bit of stuff around my local community, and it, part of it is because I want to help people, but it makes me feel better that I feel like I'm doing something, which I don't know if that's a terrible thing to say because it makes it sound like I'm doing something in a selfish way, but it makes me feel less shit when I go to bed.
It's like doing this podcast. I like hearing from people that have listened to an episode and gone, I really needed that. And that's why, and that's why I do this. I want to help. I want to do something.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And I imagine that's the same with you, with your podcasts.
100%, yeah. 100%.
And that's what we do. Like you say, you've hit the nail on the head. This is how we do our bit.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. I think reaching out and reminding people that we are, that they're that we should unite together, that we should, forget political leanings, forget, about where you went to school or who you are or who your parents are, and just go, do you know what? We're all on the planet at the same time. We're all experiencing this thing. Who cares about where you come from or who you pray to or what you look like? We're all human beings. Let's look out for one another. Absolutely.
That's the thing. Being lucky enough to have travelled around the world because of comedy, and you get to go to different places. But when you look, fundamentally, everyone's the same. Everyone's pretty much the same. Different language, different culture, but it's all the fundamentals are the same. Yeah, and that blows my mind. And you go, yeah, there is. We do have more in common than you realise.
Yeah,
there doesn't need to be such division, and even more so now with the world being the way it is. We should be coming together. There shouldn't be families flinging themselves across the channel to try and get to a better life.
Yeah, to get to safety.
Yeah, and yet here we are.
Or to find hope, yeah. It's really... I'm always stunned by people's reaction to, people going to get a better life somewhere else, which is something that people, ancestors have done for generations and generations, and it's basically how America came to be.
Yeah, exactly.
Going somewhere else for a better life, for a new life, for a promise of something better, of a promise of something more exciting. And then, all of a sudden people have such trouble believing that exists.
Yeah, because this
has happened forever. This has happened for a millennium.
Yeah, and because the press, they turn them into villains, don't they? They're coming over here and they're going to take your job. And you go, they are not. Look at them. They are crossing. They are crossing dangerous waters to get here. They're not crossing dangerous waters to come and nick your job in McDonald's, mate.
No.
They want to get.
And I mean, and the thing is as well is that they're, it's massive corporations that aren't paying tax.
Yeah.
It's massive corporations that are, having, that are destroying the NHS by not paying their taxes or, fears of the NHS being sold off. It's not the fact that people that mother tongue is different to mine or yours, are using the same NHS service as us. I remember talking about this on stage once because it annoyed me so because someone in my dad's pub, that my dad doesn't own a pub, but the pub that my dad drinks in was sort of like, trouble is you go to the NHS and like, that's what's wrong with it because so many people come over here and they use our health service for free. Yeah. And I did some research into it and I was, because I wanted to talk about this on stage. So I think it's a really... I don't know. I think it's something that certainly needs to be addressed. And as someone who is, from a working class background, I kind of see myself as middle class now. I'm not sure if I can still be. I don't know if you're born into a working class heritage. My mum and dad have done all right now. I'm doing all right now. Am I still working class? I don't know. But I think a lot of those opinions are held by people that I grew up alongside or that my mum and dad know or who might drink in the same pubs in Portsmouth as my families or might, share stupid stuff on Facebook.
Yeah.
And I wanted to talk about this and I did some research into it and I was like, oh, yeah, more people work in the NHS that are from overseas than are treated by the NHS.
Yeah, right.
And but no one's interested in that.
No.
Because it's not an easy soundbite. It's not a get out of jail free card for you saying something pig-headed.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. This is the thing. They just want to say shitty things. They want to believe the shitty stuff. And really, if they looked into it like you have, I mean, literally, it would have been a page or two of a Google search.
Oh, I mean, it's so easy.
Yeah, and all the information's there right in front of you. Yet they genuinely believe that people sneak over here, and then they go straight to the hospital, go right, fix me teeth or whatever.
Yeah,
and I mean, like that. Do you have any idea how difficult it is to get a fucking get in there anyway.
Or like, getting a council flat.
Yeah.
That would always be the thing. When I was a kid, people would say like, oh, it's really easy for immigrants to get council flats. And you go, no, it's fucking not.
Not at all. Not at
It's
all.
not easy for anyone to get a council flat. It should be easier for everyone.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? Yeah, I think immigrants should have council flats. What if someone's just got it? Yeah, let's help them out until they're on their feet. Fuck yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Why can't we help people? Why do you think
Yeah.
they're taking something away from you?
But that's the thing. I think that's the thing. And it's sort of similar when we talk about sort of gay rights, and certainly when it came to stuff like gay marriage, is that people feel like that equality is somehow taking something from them.
Yes.
When it's not. But I think that if you've been used to a life of extreme privilege, then, yeah, it might feel a bit different. But that's for the better.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
Absolutely.
Get uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Get uncomfortable. Look at the privilege you've had. That's the thing that I sort of really, that I've really been doing, not just in lockdown, and it's not just since the murder of George Floyd, but certainly since the Black Lives Matters movement started. I think it's kind of good to get uncomfortable and go, oh, yeah, I live with a fair amount of privilege and I need to work on how, not being not racist isn't enough. It's about being anti-racist. It's about amplifying voices that need to be heard. It's about me sometimes shutting my mouth as a cisgendered white woman.
Yeah.
I think it's on us to have these discussions.
Yes.
It's, it's not on, non-white people to fix racism.
Yeah,
It's our problem.
absolutely, it's our problem, and you do have to. Until it gets flagged up, like you said, you don't realise. I didn't like when the word privilege was first getting chucked around. I was like, well, I was doing the same as everybody else. I'm like, well, I'm skint. How am I privileged? How's that?
Yeah.
And it's not till later on you go like. It's like we said earlier. It's like no, you can go jogging in any area you like.
Yeah.
And you won't.
Yep.
You'll be unmolested. Yeah. There's other people that can't even go buy a pint of milk without the fear that they might not come home, which is insane, absolutely insane. And you're right. It is up to us to make a difference and to make those changes and to educate ourselves and other people
And our relatives.
Yeah, absolutely. The amount of conversations I've had, heated conversations again with the All Lives Matter knobheads.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're not listening. You're not fucking listening because you're a racist asshole.
Yeah.
And that I genuinely did get to a point where I was like, oh, racism, it's not like it used to be. It seems to have died off a bit. But yeah.
But I think, I'm very aware that we're two white people talking about racism and we don't, neither of us have a lived experience of it. But, I think it's about things being more insidious than calling someone a name. It's about things being, discussions happening about, the world being a bit fairer. And I guess about privilege, yeah.
Yeah.
The biases that exist.
Well, it's systemic racism that comes up a lot, which I didn't really have an understanding of, really. But there's a guy, I've mentioned him before, a guy called Cody Johnston, and he does a show on YouTube called Some More News. And, I mean, he does it in a comedy way, but the things he's saying, like he was saying, he goes like, oh, people have been saying that systemic racism doesn't exist. Here's some examples of why it does still exist. And he went right back to where white people got their wealth from.
Yeah, totally.
And you're going, and I'm watching, I'm like, fucking hell, I had no idea. Black people have never been given a chance. They were enslaved for 250 years. And then it's all very well going, but then they abolished slavery. But they didn't give them any option. They didn't give them, they didn't go, right, there's your life. They didn't give them a new life. They just went, off you go. Good luck. And it's all that I didn't realise. I had no idea.
But that's the thing. That's why I think that, we as white people, we've got to make sure that we're doing the work. We've got to make sure that we're reading the right stuff. We've got to make sure that, conversations exist after this point. People don't go, oh, well, I read that one book. And it's about being part of, continuing to listen, continue to showing up and learning stuff and taking it upon ourselves to learn stuff, not just waiting for someone to tell us.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's really important as well.
Yeah, and it's that and being able to turn around and go, yeah, actually, I did benefit from that.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
I did benefit from that, and I never realised that, and I've never thought about that, and I should have thought about that.
Yeah, but like you say, unless you don't realise that you should know about it, you just don't. You kind of just live in your life and you're trying to do your thing. And you're kind
But I
of,
think
you know.
also, you know, if you're someone that's not born into wealth, you know, your struggle is different and your struggle is probably easier. But, you know, sometimes you don't have time to look around you, or you haven't made time to look around you and really take things in.
You're just kind of getting on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is something that I'm sort of doing in myself now. And it's something that I think, you know, I feel like the world's on pause a bit at the minute. You know, don't get me wrong, we need to get through an election and other stuff. But, you know, wouldn't it be great if we come out of this period of COVID, of a worldwide pandemic, of a moment when everyone is staying indoors, and we go, you know, the history books say, and after that there was a real shift in how the world, in compassion.
Yeah.
You know, wouldn't that be such a great thing if that's what the history books say about this moment? And it wasn't. There continue to be divisive people, there continue to be lying politicians, there continue to be it being left to footballers to make sure kids are fed.
Yeah.
I don't know if we've solved anything over the hour.
Not
Rich.
really.
No, we haven't solved anything.
But I think it's the key point is talking.
Yeah.
But this is why this podcast exists, because I want people to know that they're probably doing the same as us. They're looking at the news, they're talking to friends, but no one has any answers.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
You know? Because the people that are running things, the people that got elected in, don't know what the fuck they're doing either.
No, that's true.
And you're like, if we don't know, if they don't know, how the fuck are we supposed to know? Do you know what? This has been amazing, Suzi. Thanks for coming on.
A pleasure.
It's been lovely. You know what? Doesn't matter that we haven't got any answers. At least we're talking about it. That's the difference, I think.
Absolutely.
Where can we find you, Suzi?
I'm all over Twitter and Instagram, and I'm on Facebook, and my podcasts are on all the podcast things. It's just Suzi Ruffell, or Suzi Ruffell Comedy if you're on Insta.
Suzi Ruffell Comedy on Insta. That's brilliant. Suzi, thank you so much.